After I won the 200 million RMB lottery, my boyfriend secretly gave the ticket to the bankrupt school beauty. My boyfriend even seriously advised me, "We still have the college entrance exam, but she has nothing left." The school beauty, ecstatic, drove like a maniac and ran me over on the spot. In court, my boyfriend forged a suicide note, claiming I took my own life, and the school beauty was acquitted. When I opened my eyes again, I saw my boyfriend frantic with worry because the school beauty was on the verge of bankruptcy. I carefully hid the lottery ticket and calmly offered my boyfriend a brilliant idea. "You don't have money to save the school beauty, but you still have your college entrance exam." The next day, my boyfriend used his admission score to Tsinghua University to enroll in a mediocre vocational college, earning 1 million for the school beauty. The school beauty was bankrupt, but the most heartbroken person was my boyfriend. He was so worried that his mouth broke out in blisters, yet he made up an excuse that it was from staying up late to study. "Wei, last time you said you might win the lottery, did you?" My boyfriend, Zhiyue, looked at me with eager anticipation, his eyes shining with hope. I feigned a weary shake of my head, and his face immediately fell, his gaze filled with disappointment. Quickly gathering his books, he hastily said, "I'm going to the library to study. I won't be coming home with you." Only after Zhiyue was out of sight did I quietly pull out the lottery ticket I still held tightly in my hand. I had tricked him into believing I had won the lottery, a hefty 200 million RMB. In my previous life, as soon as I heard I'd won the lottery, I immediately shared the good news with Zhiyue. Who knew he would turn around and give the ticket to the bankrupt school beauty? He even lectured me, saying, "We still have the college entrance exam, but she has nothing. As class president, it's our duty to help friends in need." How laughable. If you want to help a friend, use your own money. Why steal my lottery ticket? Without the ticket, I could only pin all my hopes on the exam. But the day before the exam, I was run over and killed by the school beauty, Lu Zhiyue, who, having just received the lottery money, drove like a maniac. After my death, Lu Zhiyue cried profusely, and Zhiyue was so heartbroken that he forged my handwriting that very night, creating a suicide note, and then testified that I had taken my own life. With witnesses and evidence, Lu Zhiyue was acquitted right there in court. To thank her savior, Lu Zhiyue proactively confessed her feelings to Zhiyue, and with his help, she gained direct admission to Tsinghua University. Together, they became the revered, golden couple, while I was merely their sacrifice, unmourned and forgotten. Bitter memories surged, and I gripped the lottery ticket tightly. This life, I wouldn't just hold onto it to change my destiny. I would make that despicable pair pay with blood. I immediately went to claim my prize. After deducting 40 million in taxes, my bank account still held 160 million RMB. Looking at the long string of numbers on the screen, a lightness filled my heart. Even my steps back to school felt unusually joyful. Who would have thought that as soon as I entered the gate, I'd see Lu Zhiyue sitting by the lotus pond, covering her face and crying? Around her was a circle of fawning admirers, offering solicitous comfort. Among them was my boyfriend, the very person who had just said he was going to the library to study. Lost in the crowd, Zhiyue was pushed to the outer edge, able only to stand by, watching Lu Zhiyue cry with pity and helplessness. Even when their eyes met, Lu Zhiyue's expression clearly showed contempt. I remembered that in my previous life, the first time Lu Zhiyue even noticed Zhiyue was when he stole my 200 million lottery ticket and gave it to her. From then on, an anonymous Zhiyue became the school beauty's #1 sycophant. In this life, Zhiyue is as poor as I am. In the eyes of the proud young lady, he's merely a poor, smart student, not worth her attention. Seeing his yearning to be loved but lacking the qualifications, I recalled the scene from my previous life when he handed the lottery ticket to Lu Zhiyue, his face beaming with happiness. He liked her. As long as she was happy, he would willingly go to hell. Back then, Zhiyue and I were neighbors and desk mates, constantly together. Everyone assumed we were a couple. Even I thought that, with just a confession, we'd be no different from other lovers. But that day, when we argued, he looked at me with utter contempt. "Guwei, did you really think I liked you? Being with you is utterly boring. Often, I just wished you were her. But thinking about it, it's impossible. She's radiant, lively, warm like the sun, while you are dry and utterly unlike her. Just to be a little closer to her, I'd do anything." Indeed, he stole my lottery ticket, covered up a murderer, and exchanged my direct admission slot to a prestigious university to enter the same school as the school beauty. He turned himself into a hero in his own love story and destroyed my entire life. He wasn't the murderer, but compared to one, he was no different. I looked at Zhiyue coldly. In my previous life, he used me as a stepping stone to become a love god. This life, I would let him sacrifice himself for love. After her bankruptcy, Zhiyue went into a rapid decline. Lacking money, she grew thin and haggard. Zhiyue saw her and felt heartbroken. Unable to help the school beauty, he blamed himself so much that he couldn't focus on his studies. Meanwhile, I furiously buried myself in books. Before, I was even more miserable than Zhiyue, having to study and work part-time just to make ends meet. But now, thanks to the lottery win, I no longer worried about money and could fully devote myself to studying. Zhiyue was always ranked first in our grade, and I was consistently second. Everyone thought I was less intelligent than him. But only I knew that if it weren't for the time spent on part-time jobs, the top spot would have been mine. And now, I would reclaim it. While Zhiyue was still consumed with financial worries, an opportunity arose. The school unexpectedly reopened its fund for impoverished students, offering a significant 10,000 RMB stipend. There was only one slot for our class and 3 candidates applied, I, Zhiyue, and Zhiyue. Zhiyue looked supremely confident. Upon hearing the news, Zhiyue turned to her with solicitous concern. "Zhiyue, I don't need this stipend, you take it." Her smile was as radiant as a flower, and his eyes overflowed with affection. I lifted my head from my pile of exam papers and chuckled. I haven't given up yet, so why should she get it? Zhiyue's eyes immediately filled with reproach. In my previous life, if he and I had competed for the slot, I would have yielded to him, but yielding didn't mean I couldn't win. He was smart but arrogant, not as friendly as I was. If it came to a vote, he would surely lose. As for Zhiyue, before her bankruptcy, she was never sociable with anyone. Now, apart from her sycophants, few pitied her. Unless I withdrew, this slot would certainly be mine. Knowing this well, Zhiyue still forced out a few tears and bitterly said, "Gu Wei, I'm bankrupt. Why can't you yield a little? Don't be so selfish." There it was, her familiar trick of playing the victim to pressure others to give way. In my previous life, she was the one who ran me over, then went to court to blame me, saying it was my fault. If she hadn't been wandering around late at night, I wouldn't have been startled and lost control, so my death was deserved. My face was cold, and I was about to speak when a deep, lazy male voice rang out. "Are you being a hypocrite? Everyone has difficulties. On what grounds do you demand someone yield?" I turned around, surprised to see Chillify, the recognized school heartthrob and big brother, son of a diamond mogul. I heard Zhiyue transferred here to cling to him. Unfortunately, after half a year of being desk mates, he hadn't bothered to notice her. Yet today, he sided with me, openly embarrassing Zhiyue. Her face immediately turned pale green, and she glared at me as if she wanted to incinerate me. Cheng Liang's words made the entire class snap out of it, and they unanimously declared they wouldn't vote for her. Zhiyue looked at Zhiyue in a panic, and he immediately pulled me aside, whispering coaxingly, "Wei Wei, can you give this spot to Zhiyue? This is very important to me, and you'll help me, won't you?" His eyes were full of worry, while Zhiyue stood at a distance, awaiting the outcome. Both knew well that if he could persuade me, his standing in the school beauty's heart would rise. Otherwise, his hopes would vanish. Zhiyue feared that outcome. Watching him swallow hard from tension, I feigned awkwardness on the outside, but inside I was laughing hysterically. To witness this drama for such a small investment was truly a bargain. Laughable, I would never bother to compete with Zhiyue for this slot. I was the actual sponsor of this entire fund. The school had helped me for many years, and now that I'd won the lottery, it was time to reciprocate. But more importantly, I wanted Zhiyue to truly value Zhiyue. If she didn't discover his worth, she wouldn't cling to him, and he would live his entire life with unrequited love. But once she did realize it, she would cling to him like a succubus, draining him dry. I wanted to destroy Zhiyue, but I didn't need to do it myself. Being ruined by his own white moonlight would cause him lifelong pain. I agreed to yield the spot. Zhiyue immediately ran off excitedly to boast to Zhiyue. For the first time, Zhiyue smiled gently at him, her eyes curving into crescents as she rushed into Zhiyue's arms, blinking and giggling. "Brother Zhiyue, you're amazing." The praise from his white moonlight made Song Zhiyu flush crimson, his hands fumbling, not knowing where to put them. As I sat down, Cheng Liang sauntered over to my desk, leaning his hands on the edge. His voice was teasing. "I thought you were finally smart, but your head is still full of love." I bent down, fiddling with an exam paper, not bothering to pay attention. He pulled up a chair next to me and excitedly suggested, "You see, Song Zhiyu doesn't like you anyway, and pining after him is useless. Why don't you try pining after me? I'm single, you know." I lowered my gaze. Just then, Song Zhiyu, still floating from Lu Zukeo's praise, returned, but was immediately asked by Cheng Liang to switch seats. "You go to my spot, you'll be closer to Lu Zukeo." Song Zhiyu hesitated, looking at me. "We've been desk mates since the beginning of the year." He politely asked for my opinion, but his eyes had already drifted towards Lu Zukeo. I nodded in agreement. It suited me perfectly. Once he sat next to Lu Zukeo, I wouldn't need to lift a finger. She would discover for herself just how useful a tool Song Zhiyu was. After they switched seats, Lu Zukeo shot me a resentful glance, her eyes full of jealousy. Just as I predicted, once they became desk mates, Lu Zukeo quickly began to boss Song Zhiyu around, as adeptly as using her own limbs. She loved snacks, forcing Song Zhiyu to run errands to buy them daily, even during class. Whatever she craved, he had to get it, even if it meant skipping class. She was obsessed with playing games, constantly coaxing Song Zhiyu to climb over the wall with her to internet cafes or other decadent entertainment spots. In the dim lights, she would sway to the music, then press her lips to his, blowing a puff of smoke into his mouth. Under Lu Zukeo's influence, Song Zhiyu rapidly spiraled downwards, transforming from a model student into a delinquent whom the entire school avoided. After disappearing for 2 consecutive days, he returned with 2 uniform buttons undone, his collarbone exposed, tattooed with the 3 characters, Lu Zukeo. Our homeroom teacher, who had placed so much hope in him, immediately flew into a rage, scolding Song Zhiyu as if he'd lost his mind. He didn't even bother to look up, leaning lazily against the door frame, looking like he could fall asleep at any moment, not just pretending, but genuinely exhausted. Partying required money. Lu Zukeo was bankrupt, of course, without a penny, so Song Zhiyu buried himself in part-time jobs, earning money to fuel her extravagant spending. Finally, the disheartened teacher waved his hand, telling him to return to his seat. Lu Zukeo, however, flashed a bright smile, praising him for daring to provoke the teacher, saying it looked cool. Receiving the praise, Song Zhiyu offered a tired but contented smile. Immediately after, the teacher announced that I had won a gold medal in the physics Olympiad. The whole class erupted in cheers. Everyone knew this subject was incredibly difficult, but its value was the highest. Just winning gold meant top universities would compete to offer direct admission, essentially guaranteeing a ticket to a prestigious university. The teacher looked at me with great satisfaction. "Now you can choose any university you like. With this achievement, Tsinghua or Peking University are both within reach." Congratulations buzzed throughout the classroom, so loud that Song Zhiyu was woken up. He frowned, scratched his ear, and lazily said, "It's just direct admission. I'll still get into Tsinghua or Peking University through the entrance exam, as usual." The entire class fell silent. No one doubted his ability. Despite his recent decline, his foundation from the previous 3 years was too solid to easily fail. After saying this, Song Zhiyu put his arm around Lu Zukeo's shoulder and proudly declared, "Zukeo, which university do you like? I'll choose that one later." Lu Zukeo's eyes crinkled with a smile. I curved my lips, but there was no trace of a smile in my eyes. "Carelessly choose a university? No, I will make sure you have no university to choose from for the rest of your life." After class, to celebrate my direct admission, Cheng Liang suddenly offered to treat me to a meal. I chuckled teasingly. "I'm the one who got direct admission, why are you treating?" He glanced at me and calmly replied, "Because I'm even happier than you. Who wouldn't love to see the person they like have a bright future?" After saying that, he gave me a mysterious look and added, "Remember to eat a little mo sheng later, you might get a surprise." I smiled and nodded. He affectionately ruffled my hair before turning and leaving. Once his figure was completely out of sight, the smile on my lips slowly froze, and my fingers clenched until they were white. No one knew that Cheng Liang was, in fact, a true pervert. He enjoyed torturing cats, dogs, and any woman he set his sights on. In my previous life, on the night Lu Zukeo ran me over, I was on my way to escape the iron cage he had meticulously constructed specifically for me. It was the 3rd night of his torture. With my own eyes, I saw more than a dozen cats tormented to death by him. He lifted my chin, laughing gleefully. "You're the first person who ever caught my attention. It's a pity you were always clinging to Zhiyue, making it difficult for me to act." Perhaps because he had stalked his prey for too long, once he had hunted me down, he became even more brutal. He loved hearing my weak gasps like a dying cat, and even more, he loved seeing my terrified face, whether on the bed or on the floor. Those painful memories rushed back, until Lu Zukeo's shrill, envious voice rang out behind me. "How did you seduce him? I see you pretending to study hard, but behind the scenes you must be a real master of tricks." I turned to see her face contorted with jealousy. To bring down Cheng Liang, my only hope was to use Lu Zukeo. I deliberately put on a smug expression, leaned closer, and casually dropped a line. Her eyes widened with suspicion. "He really likes that?" I shrugged wearily. "Well, what else? If not, why would he like me and not you?" That hit her where it hurt. With her arrogant personality, she never thought she was inferior to anyone. I then pretended to be happily excited and said, "He even said he's going to propose to me tonight. Tomorrow, I'll be the rich madam of a wealthy family." Returning to a life of luxury was Lu Zukeo's dream. Her eyes, looking at me, grew even more envious. I feigned a slight hesitation. "I know it seems a bit fast, but he said his family is very traditional. If a man gets intimate with a woman, he has to marry her right away. Since he's decided to have a good time with me tonight, it means he's definitely going to marry me." I sighed softly, glancing to see her eyes darting back and forth, clearly scheming something. Sure enough, immediately after, she began to probe, subtly trying to find out the location of the evening's rendezvous. Her intentions were obvious. She wanted to steal my place. Inside, I almost burst out laughing. Foolish, just as I'd hoped, even coming up with the idea of a stand-in herself. I pretended not to know, giving her all the details. Even when she deliberately offered me 2 sleeping pills, I feigned ignorance. After I fell asleep, she applied heavy makeup, put on a mask, donned my clothes, and happily left the house. Before she went, she shot me a scornful glance. "Serves you right, you idiot, to let me steal your position as the madam. With a mask on, who would know I'm not you? By the time it's done, it'll be too late for him to change his mind." The moment she left, I immediately opened my eyes and called a renowned entertainment reporter. "I have explosive news. The only son of the diamond mogul is a sadist, and he'll be at—" Before I could finish, the other end of the line was trembling with excitement, eagerly asking about the terms of exchange. This news was big enough to shake the entire industry. I stared into space, as if seeing again the torn bodies of cats and Cheng Liang's triumphant smile as he said, "Abusing cats is immoral but not illegal. Who can punish me?" I softly replied. "The more covert the better. I want him never to be able to lift his head again." The reporter solemnly promised, "I will do my utmost." Indeed, harming cats might not be illegal, but harming people certainly is. True to his reputation as a top reporter, that very night, the news that Cheng Liang was a sadist spread throughout the city. A school heartthrob on the outside, but a disgusting pervert on the inside. Rumor had it that a pile of dissected cat corpses was found in his house, truly sick. Lu Zukeo was carried out last night, crying hysterically, apparently with several broken ribs. Don't think she's pathetic, serves her right for clinging to Cheng Liang. Exactly, if you pity someone, you have to bear their fate. And she even has a loyal backup tire. No idea why Zhiyue hasn't given up yet. Truly pathetic. I glanced at Zhiyue's empty seat and sneered softly. Give up. The more Lu Zukeo needed him, the less Zhiyue would give up. True feelings are only revealed in adversity. That was always his creed. Just like in my previous life, when Lu Zukeo ran me over and I faced prison, Zhiyue immediately protected her because that was when she needed him, and he wanted to weather the storm with her, proving his love. Now he was probably at the hospital attending to Lu Zukeo, while also agonizing over the hospital bills. Cheng Liang had struck mercilessly. Lu Zukeo was surely gravely injured. She had sent Cheng Liang to jail, so don't even dream that the diamond mogul would pay for her treatment. He probably wished she'd just die in the hospital. At this moment, only Zhiyue remained by her side. Lu Zukeo would cling to this lifeline like a succubus, dragging him to the depths, never to resurface. After a week of skipping school, Zhiyue finally returned. His first order of business was to fine me, asking me to borrow 1 million RMB from the bank for Lu Zukeo's treatment. Wei, we're childhood sweethearts. Can you help me borrow $1 million? His eyes were filled with fervent pleas, even carrying a hint of deep affection. Just $1 million, I'll pay you back later. No one else can help me but you. His voice sounded sorrowful, but his words made me sick to my stomach. How audacious. With just a few sentences, he wanted me to shoulder a massive debt, all because his white moonlight needed money. From my previous life to this one, he remained just as selfish. Luckily, I was prepared. I sighed softly. Zhiyue, I already asked the bank. They said I have nothing, so I can't borrow, but your house is in your name, you can borrow against it. His eyes immediately darted away. I smirked. He wouldn't dare mortgage the house. His mother, he thank you, held onto it even tighter than that. If she knew, Lu Zukao would probably be beaten to death. Moreover, that was Song Zhiyue's only asset. He would regret it deeply. He could be loyal, but the person he loved most was still himself. I leisurely pulled out an admissions notice for a vocational college. This college offered a 1 million RMB reward if it recruited a top student. His eyes fixed on the paper, both tempted and hesitant. I feigned sympathy. Oh, forget it. Trading your future for love only happens in novels. We're ordinary people, not that great. The moment I finished speaking, he snatched the paper, sneering, You underestimate my love for Zukao too much. What about the future? As long as I can be with her, I'll do anything. Besides, what if I don't take the college entrance exam? I'll still succeed as usual. With that, he turned and walked away. The corners of my lips slowly curled upwards. I knew Song Zhiyue too well. He didn't even truly love Lu Zukao. He loved the feeling of sacrificing himself for love. With just a slight nudge from me, he wouldn't hesitate to choose love. He disdained the dullness of studying and exams, which was why he was so infatuated with a rebellious, study-hating school beauty. But soon, he would understand just how weak and helpless he would be for the rest of his life if he abandoned the college entrance exam. The next day, Song Zhiyue boldly announced that after the college entrance exam, he would enroll in the vocational college mentioned in the admissions notice. Upon hearing this, the homeroom teacher nearly fainted on the spot, scolding Song Zhiyue fiercely, calling him an idiot. Other teachers took turns earnestly advising him, hoping he would value his future. Zhiyue, don't be hasty. Regarding the hospital fees, the school will find a way to help. Don't play with your entire future. Exactly. You've studied for 12 years, haven't you, to get into a prestigious university and change your life? How can you give up so easily? You need to look further ahead. If you get into Tsinghua, there'll be plenty of scholarship money, enough to cover the hospital fees. Lu Zukao can just wait a little while. The teachers each offered their advice, both passionately and patiently, presenting various options. But Song Zhiyue's expression grew increasingly impatient. At this moment, the more people advised him, the more determined he became to trade his future for love, crowning himself a pure love warrior to move himself. Having just picked up Lu Zukao from the hospital, Song Zhiyue immediately held her tightly in his arms. She leaned close against his chest, her face pale and pitifully weak. Now, Song Zhiyue was Lu Zukao's only lifeline. She absolutely couldn't let him go. Her eyes, full of contempt, swept across the teachers, and she said sarcastically, Brother Zhiyue, listen to the teachers, leave me. If you choose the vocational college, the teachers will lose their year-end bonuses. Song Zhiyue's face immediately darkened, and he roared, suppressing his anger. I've had enough. You people are too selfish, only thinking about yourselves, not caring about my feelings at all. I love Zukao, and I'm willing to give up my entire future for her. The college entrance exam isn't worth a penny compared to her. He screamed until his voice was hoarse, unleashing all his dissatisfaction onto the teachers. They looked at him as if he were a stranger. The homeroom teacher's gaze had turned icy, filled with extreme disappointment. I stepped forward, gently supporting the teacher, and whispered, Teacher, don't try to persuade him anymore. Someone blind with love won't be swayed by advice. The homeroom teacher squeezed my hand, his eyes moist, and sadly said, Gu Wei, you must stay clear-headed, don't follow his example. I nodded earnestly. The teacher ruffled my hair, sighed, and then dismissed everyone. He no longer tried to stop Song Zhiyue. Lu Zukao flashed a triumphant smile. She had finally overcome that hurdle. But the very next second, a cold laugh echoed from the doorway. You might have passed the teacher's hurdle, but you might not pass mine. Song Zhiyue gasped, calling out, Mom! He thank you strode a few steps towards me, taking my hand with pity. Wei, I'm late, but rest assured, you are my daughter-in-law. Your mother and I are best friends, I love you like my own daughter, and I won't let anyone bully you. The triumphant smile on Lu Zukeo's face vanished. She hadn't expected to overcome the teachers only to encounter another obstacle. Even more unexpectedly, just a few words from He Fengyu made Song Zhiyue waver, a sense of guilt rising within him, no longer daring to mention dropping out of Tsinghua for a vocational school. After speaking, He Fengyu gently called me home. Your mother misses you very much. I nodded but said I would come home later. After they left, I approached Lu Zukeo and quietly said, dealing with his mother is easy. She has one weakness, greed. She frowned. Why are you helping me? I smiled. Perhaps I'm moved by Song Zhiyue's profound feelings. She tossed her chin contemptuously. You can only be jealous. Zhiyue doesn't like you, forcing it is useless. I smirked inwardly. Jealous? Never. The one being forced to be with Song Zhiyue was his mother. My mother and He Fengyu were not only neighbors, but also best friends. She wanted me to be Zhiyue's girlfriend because I was the best catch in his social circle. He Fengyu was such a good actress that my mother trusted her implicitly, yet she always secretly harmed my mother. In my previous life, after I died, my mother insisted on investigating because she didn't believe I had committed suicide. He Fengyu exploited that trust, led my mother to find evidence, then pushed her off a cliff. This life, I would expose her hypocritical true colors to my mother and drag Song Zhiyue down to the very bottom. Lu Zukeo began to think of ways to make He Fengyu accept her son attending vocational college, but before she could come up with anything, shocking news exploded. Someone at school had won a whopping 200 million RMB lottery. The hot news spread like wildfire throughout the school. During recess, Lu Zukeo, annoyed by her nagging injuries, suddenly heard people gossiping. I heard someone in our school won 200 million RMB. How lucky. I wonder who's so fortunate. If it were me, I'd probably wake up laughing from my dream. Hearing this, Lu Zukeo's eyes sparkling. Just then, He Fengyu and my mother stormed in. He Fengyu pointed directly at Zukeo and yelled, You shameless girl, still daring to cling to my son? I told you, Song Zhiyue is Wei Wei's boyfriend. Wei Wei's mother is here too. If you dare to interfere again, Wei Wei's mother won't let you off. I gave a cold smile. Was she trying to use my mother to chase Zukeo away again? My mother approached me full of worry. She knew I had liked Song Zhiyue since childhood. Wei Wei, don't be scared. Aunt Fengyu has loved you since you were little, she'll help you. He Fengyu immediately chimed in. But the very next second, Lu Zukeo straightened her back and said clearly, Do you know who won 200 million? I'll tell you, it's me. As soon as the words left her mouth, the entire room fell silent. He Fengyu was stunned, both astonished and suspicious, saying scornfully, Stop lying. If that were true, why would you make my son trade his exam scores for money for you? Zukeo sneered, I just wanted to test if he dared to give up his future for me. If he agreed, I'd split the 200 million with him. Hearing split 200 million, He Fengyu's eyes gleamed with greed. Zukeo smirked, but it's a pity you have such a foolish mother that I had to tell the truth. Now, as you wish, let him go take the Tsinghua exam. As for the 200 million, you won't get a single cent. She turned to Song Zhiyue, eyes welling up. Brother Zhiyue, I originally wanted to go to the same school as you, but I'm too selfish and only hinder your future. Song Zhiyue hastily shook his head, deeply moved. So you wanted to go to the same school as me? Don't worry, I will definitely attend the vocational college. We'll be in the same school. Zukeo cried even harder, sobbing as she looked at He Fengyu. But your mother doesn't agree. Without her blessing, we won't be happy. Let's break up. Tsinghua or 200 million. He Fengyu took only a second to decide. She smiled brightly. Of course I agree. Today I brought Gu Wei's mother here so she could clearly see that her daughter is no match for you. My mother was stunned, unable to believe she had been so blatantly betrayed. He Fengyu said coldly, See, she has 200 million while Wei can't even afford her tuition. How can they compare? Stay away from my son. My mother trembled with rage. I gently reassured her, saying as if it were nothing, If you're going to disparage us, then move out of our house soon. My house and Song Zhiyue's house were adjacent, but to collect rental income, He Fengyu had brazenly moved into my house and rented out her own, living a comfortable life. She tossed her chin. So what if I move? My daughter-in-law has 200 million, what's one house? Then she turned back to coaxing Zukeo. After much pleading from He Fengyu, Zukeo finally reluctantly agreed to stay with Song Zhiyue. That very day, Song Zhiyue signed a contract to enroll in the vocational college, receiving 1 million RMB. If he violated the contract by not attending the vocational college or failing to meet the Tsinghua admission score, he would have to pay 10 million in compensation. After receiving the money, Zhiyue and Zhiyue happily embraced. The homeroom teacher coldly told the two of them to leave. They both shot him a contemptuous glance, then strutted around the school hand in hand, showing off. Having received 1 million, Zhiyue not only paid off all her surgery expenses, but still had a substantial amount left. She immediately embraced the money and revived her luxurious lifestyle as a spoiled rich girl from before. She was constantly seen at bars and dance clubs. After signing the vocational college contract, Zhiyue immediately became a legendary figure at school, hailed as a pure love warrior. He beamed as he accepted the title. His relationship with Zhiyue became increasingly public, and he was daily intoxicated by the happiness of love, protecting his white moonlight and openly becoming her partner. For Zhiyue, this was the greatest satisfaction in his life. This joy lasted until the final mock exam of 12th grade. Zhiyue plummeted from first place in the grade to 10th, while I calmly ascended to the number 1 spot. This mock exam perfectly simulated the college entrance exam, so these results almost directly reflected actual test scores. Zhiyue performed terribly. His total score had already dropped below last year's Tsinghua admission standard. As soon as the scores were announced, the vocational college immediately sent a warning letter. If his college entrance exam score fell below the Tsinghua standard, Zhiyue would have to pay 10 million in compensation for breach of contract. This was the first time Zhiyue was truly panicked. He certainly didn't want to start his adult life with a 10 million debt. Zhiyue tried to refocus on his studies, but just as he intended to rejoin the class's study rhythm, he realized he had been left behind a long time ago. The class had extra tutoring this weekend. Why didn't anyone tell me? He angrily stormed into the teacher's office, confronting the homeroom teacher. Ever since he signed the vocational college contract, the homeroom teacher had implicitly ignored him. Zhiyue's name was never on the list for any extra tutoring sessions or class activities. When confronted, the teacher merely gave a cold, sneering laugh. The school doesn't have time to invest in a vocational college student. Zhiyue's face darkened, but he couldn't find a retort. I'm talented, I don't need extra lessons to catch up. He completely abandoned his habit of skipping class and started attending regularly, but he couldn't last a week before going mad. He simply couldn't integrate. In class, everyone was stressed, cramming for the college entrance exam, dreaming of the university they would attend. As for him, no matter how well he scored, his destination would still be a vocational college. Classmates didn't bother to talk to him, and teachers treated him as if he didn't exist. Zhiyue was now like a gray duck among a flock of pure white swans. The day he announced he'd signed the contract, everyone had hailed him as a love warrior. Now, he had become the class's laughingstock, and his mood grew increasingly irritable. Just then, Zhiyue, having spent all her money, still hadn't had her fill and walked into the classroom. Zhiyue hastily said, "Zhiyue, please pay the penalty fee for me, and then we can both get into Tsinghua." Initially, he thought it didn't matter where he went, as long as Zhiyue was by his side. Now he understood it was a world of difference. Zhiyue was startled, stammering, "Paying compensation is useless. My scores are nowhere near enough for Tsinghua." Zhiyue eagerly offered to teach her. Zhiyue let out a sarcastic laugh. "You like to teach, but I don't like to study. If you're so smart, make it so I can get into Tsinghua without studying, then I'll pay the compensation." She thought that remark would stop Zhiyue, but unexpectedly she didn't see a flicker of light in his eyes. After class, Zhiyue came to my desk, smiling gently, just like in the old days. "Wei, congratulations on becoming first in our grade. It feels like it's been a long time since we talked." He feigned casualness, asking, "Which university did you choose for direct admission?" I gripped my pen tightly, a cold laugh forming in my heart. As expected, he was planning another trick on me. In my previous life, he had swapped my direct admission slot for Zhiyue. Now it was time to collect that debt. Tsinghua, I chose Tsinghua. Hearing this, Zhiyue's eyes immediately gleamed with greed. "That's a good university. Can I see your admission notice?" A direct admission notice is a document sent by a prestigious university to outstanding students. Simply signing and returning it instantly results in an official acceptance notification. Zhiyue was skilled at forging documents. He could perfectly duplicate it, then swap the photo and personal information to turn my direct admission slot into Zhiyue's. In my previous life, after my death, He used this exact method to steal my spot for Lu Zukao. My eyes curved into a smile. Of course. I handed him the paper. Watching him meticulously memorize every line of information, his face was filled with smugness. After copying it, he tossed it back to me, feigning congratulations with a sympathetic tone. Then he excitedly ran back, whispering his plan to swap the admission papers to Lu Zukao so she could get into Tsinghua. Lu Zukao shrieked with excitement. Really? You're amazing. Song Zhiyue puffed out his chest. Of course, just wait and we'll enter Tsinghua together. She hugged him tightly. Even though she hated studying, who wouldn't want the prestige of a top university? When I get the admission letter, you'll pay the compensation, right? Then we'll enter Tsinghua together. Lu Zukao averted her gaze, giving a perfunctory nod. At this point, she was certainly not foolish enough to admit that she hadn't won the lottery at all. Song Zhiyue paid no mind, humming a tune as he flipped through a book, his mood incredibly buoyant. As for me, I merely leaned back lazily in my chair, shoulders shaking with silent laughter. Did he think I was as naive as I was in my previous life? Song Zhiyue, your grave has already been dug. Enjoy this last bit of happiness, then sink forever into darkness. Sure enough, he finished forging the documents and secretly swapped them with my paper. When I submitted my paper, both of them were grinning ear to ear. Friends came to congratulate me on my bright future. Lu Zukao gave a faint smile. Don't celebrate too soon. Who actually gets admitted in the end is still unknown. Someone immediately retorted, no matter what, it won't be a bottom feeder like you. Go worry about your relationship with Song Zhiyue. What does this exam have to do with you two vocational college sweethearts? If you can't congratulate, silence is also polite. The whole class ganged up on her, making Lu Zukao's face twist with anger. She was so furious she yelled, let me tell you all, the only one Tsinghua will admit is me. The news that the admission letter had been sent was out. Lu Zukao no longer bothered to hide it. Everywhere she went, she boasted that she would receive notification from Tsinghua. Everyone just shook their heads, but still reminded me to be cautious. Paper swapping had happened before. Although the consequences were severe, ranging from expulsion to criminal charges, who could be sure Lu Zukao wouldn't risk it? I merely smiled because my plan had been completed long ago. On the day the admission letters were to be received, Lu Zukao and Song Zhiyue were present early. The homeroom teacher walked in, holding the notifications, his sharp gaze sweeping straight over them. I have 2 direct admission letters. One is for Lu Zukao to Tsinghua. Lu Zukao immediately shrieked with joy. Song Zhiyue, however, felt a flicker of unease. Immediately after, the teacher continued, the second is for Gu Wei to Peking University. Song Zhiyue's face instantly went pale, while Lu Zukao was still cheering. The homeroom teacher said coldly, Tsinghua University reported that Gu Wei declined admission. Her information has been archived in their system, but someone used her personal information to forge a direct admission letter, causing severe repercussions. They demand strict action. At this point, Lu Zukao was stunned. She turned to question Song Zhiyue. How can this be? You said it was guaranteed? Song Zhiyue glared at me, grinding his teeth. Gu Wei, you set me up? I smiled. I merely went with the flow. His plan was perfect. As long as Tsinghua hadn't stored my information, he could simply overwrite the data, and Lu Zukao would become the admitted student. But he didn't know that from the very beginning I had chosen Peking University, and Tsinghua was just a trap. The homeroom teacher, like a judge, read out the verdict. Song Zhiyue, Lu Zukao, you two engaged in forgery and fraud. The school has made a decision regarding your punishment. The entire class collectively turned their gaze towards the homeroom teacher. Both of you are expelled, and your eligibility to take the college entrance exam is revoked. The moment the teacher's words ended, Song Zhiyue's face instantly stiffened and turned deathly pale, while Lu Zukao exploded on the spot. On what grounds are you punishing me? Song Zhiyue did this. I had absolutely no involvement. If there's a punishment, it should be for him. Song Zhiyue stared blankly at Lu Zukao. He never expected the girl he loved to completely deny him at this moment. Lu Zukao adamantly refused to accept the outcome, angrily pressuring Song Zhiyue to take full responsibility. The homeroom teacher's eyes were full of mockery. I lifted my head and spoke the teacher's unspoken thoughts. Song Zhiyue, how does love taste? Song Zhiyue's face was utterly grim. In the end, he bore all the blame, packing his belongings, ready to leave the school. But he had no idea that things were far from over. As soon as the disciplinary results were announced, the lecturer from the vocational college who had given Song Zhiyue 1 million RMB immediately came to him, demanding 10 million in compensation for breach of contract. The lecturer's face was grim, his voice sarcastic. When you signed the contract, I already knew you were an idiot. Who would give up Zhiyue for a mere million? Pay the 10 million now, or I'll send you to jail for life. Hearing jail, fear immediately crawled across Song Zhiyue's face. He knelt down and pleaded, my girlfriend won 200 million in the lottery, 10 million is nothing. I'll go get it right away. He frantically searched for Lu Zhiyue but found her being caught red-handed by me, stealing my Hermes bag. Lu Zhiyue nonchalantly denied it. This bag is mine. I used to be a rich young lady and you're just a poor girl. How could you afford Hermes? Everyone around immediately believed her. Yes, Lu Zhiyue used to be a young heiress and now she's won 200 million. Having Hermes is perfectly normal for her. As for me, a poor student who had to work part-time just to survive, a Hermes bag truly seemed unbelievable. She clutched the bag tightly, her eyes full of smugness. I found it amusing. If I hadn't revealed that I was the lottery winner, she probably intended to stay silent and pretend for life. I was about to speak, not noticing Song Zhiyue suddenly lunging from behind and slapping me directly across the face. The slap was excruciatingly painful. My eyes swam, and if a classmate hadn't caught me, I would have fallen to the ground. Song Zhiyue growled, "Gu Wei, haven't you hurt me enough? How dare you slander Zhiyue? I'll beat you to death." I was dazed, my lips cold and wet. Touching them, I realized blood was flowing. A piercing scream echoed, and someone quickly ran to call the teachers. After hitting me, Song Zhiyue immediately rushed to Lu Zhiyue, asking if she was okay. She disdainfully brushed his hand away. "Why haven't you gotten out of school yet?" Song Zhiyue frantically grabbed her hand. "Zhiyue, the vocational college lecturer is demanding 10 million or they'll send me to jail. Please help me." She let out a hollow laugh. "Are you dreaming? Why should I give you money?" Song Zhiyue was stunned, then yelled, "That money was borrowed for you and I was expelled because of you. I love you so much, yet you can't spare 10 million for me." She burst into laughter. "If you didn't have a little bit of value for me to exploit, would I even bother to be with you? Go look in a mirror. Who would want to notice you? It's your honor to sacrifice for me and you dare demand repayment? Don't even dream of it." Now that Song Zhiyue had lost his value, she no longer needed to pretend. He screamed, "Didn't you say you had 200 million? If not, I wouldn't have easily signed that contract. Just borrowing 10 million and you won't even do that. My life is ruined." Everyone knew about Song Zhiyue's love for Lu Zhiyue, and now they all started to feel sorry for him, urging her to help him with the money. She became flustered, a fleeting panic in her eyes. Just then, the principal and teachers arrived. The principal helped me up and said sternly, "Who said she couldn't afford Hermes? Last time the school offered scholarships, Gu Wei donated 1 million RMB. Everyone was stunned into silence. Lu Zhiyue argued, "How could she possibly have a million?" The principal sneered, "Because she actually won 200 million in the lottery, unlike some people who only know how to deceive others." Lu Zhiyue's face drained of color in horror. Song Zhiyue also stared blankly at me, then his face filled with regret. The principal, already fed up with her, seized the opportunity to announce that Lu Zhiyue had stolen and violated school rules, resulting in immediate expulsion. She shrieked and threw a tantrum, but this time no one paid her any attention. Song Zhiyue didn't care either, his eyes fixed on me. He knew that at this moment, only I could save him. He stepped forward, opening his mouth with difficulty. "Wei Wei, I'm sorry." I pressed an ice pack to my face, coldly refusing him. "You must compensate for the medical fees and I will sue you for intentional assault." Song Zhiyue's face darkened and he frowned. "You like me, don't you? Just pay 10 million and I'll be with you." His self-important, "You should know better than to push your luck" attitude made me burst out laughing. I sneered, "Who do you think you are? Someone who's about to go to jail? As if I'd want that." His face was unsightly. "Stop pretending. You've always liked me." That complacent tone only disgusted me. So he knew I used to like him, which was why he dared to steal my lottery ticket and give it to Lu Zhiyue. He fabricated a suicide note, falsely accusing me of taking my own life, and stole my direct admission slot. He exploited my feelings to build a future for his white moonlight. A scoundrel who trampled on genuine affection deserves eternal damnation. My feelings for him had completely vanished. 10 million in fines, plus medical expenses and emotional damages. Song Zhiyue, prepare to spend your entire life in prison. His eyes filled with despair, he knelt and pleaded, but it was useless. In my previous life, he covered for a murderer. In this life, I would let him rot in prison. After Song Zhiyue, Lu Zukeo's expulsion was nothing. In my previous life, she had run someone over and killed them. This punishment was too light. I had prepared a gift for her that would ensure a life worse than death. With 160 million RMB in hand, I began to study investment and delved into the jewelry industry. Money left idle is dead money. I didn't want to stop at 160 million. I wanted more enough to bring down the filthy villains. For example, Cheng Liang's father, the notorious jewelry tycoon. Like father, like son. Liang enjoyed torturing cats and his father enjoyed torturing students. Under the guise of support, he would help students, then exploit their gratitude to manipulate and abuse them, both mentally and physically. Whips, humiliating words he turned aid into hell. In my previous life, a friend from the assisted group told me this truth, then died shortly after in an accident. I too was once so desperate, but in this life, heaven had given me a chance to be reborn, and I wanted to save them too. I would give them real help, a bright future. Reborn, I would not only seek revenge but also repay kindness. My money grew exponentially, gradually swallowing up the jewelry tycoon's company. After gathering enough evidence, I sent him to prison. Once he was in jail, I transferred Cheng Liang, fresh out of his detention, directly into a mental institution, and then I sent Lu Zukeo there too. Years in prison hadn't curbed his depravity. Instead, his methods of torture had become even more brutal. In the mental institution, there were only two people, him and Lu Zukeo. His sole target for unleashing his bestial nature was her. The moment he saw her being brought in, he flashed a chilling smile. In his eyes, she was the enemy who had put him in jail. From then on, every day in the institution, Lu Zukeo's piercing screams echoed. With Song Zhiyue in prison, he Fengyu not only lost her support but also my mother's help. Her only house was sold to pay off debts, and she had to work tirelessly and beg for forgiveness. But my mother was too busy to pay attention. She was occupied preparing gifts and warm clothes for the students I supported. Every day she lived was full of joy. Day by day, I helped more and more people, changing their destinies. The students called me sister, looking at me with joyful, vibrant eyes, completely unlike my previous life when one by one, they died in despair. It was truly good. I was reborn, and they, too, were reborn and given a new life.